I feel very thankful to kind of come full circle. And I painfully remember the moments when my mom forced me to go to piano lessons, first at our church and then at a conservatory. And I didn't practice, so my progress was limited. And then I eventually persuaded her to let me learn the saxophone instead. But the reason why that moment is so meaningful to me is because now, as a composer, I'm using piano as my main instrument. And I'm literally 2 years ago taking piano lessons in Berlin, starting from scratch. And from there progressing, and now for me it's more of an issue of like dexterity, so no Rachmaninoff pieces anytime soon. But at least for the purpose of composing and getting the harmonies and the melody, I'm able to pick that up now. But had I gone with my mom's suggestion, I it would be a breeze, the composing aspect, or essentially bringing the sounds from in my head out. It's been the journey where so I played music in high school, and I was in a marching band, and I saw music purely as recreational, and I was in essence mimicking an older cousin who was also, he played tenor sax in the marching band, and I ended up playing alto sax, and then I was in other bands there, concert band, jazz band, and because I had just a naturally good armature, still lacking dexterity, but because of the armature, the conductor put me on oboe, bassoon, and bass clarinet just to fill in wherever. Say I did that, but I have to say, to me, you're using two very different parts of the brain when you're playing other people's music versus composing your own. So really, when I decided after practicing law and for 6 months, I tried to really learn music theory and continue being a very good lawyer, and I found it incredibly challenging because there's a quote that the law is a jealous mistress, in a sense where it's so demanding, and so when I found myself kind of faltering on both ends, I decided I needed to really decide which one I wanted to continue in, and I decided music, and the whole music aspect came with surprise as I was getting over heartbreak one evening, and I was walking down Houston Street in New York City, and I just started humming something that I really enjoyed, and it brought tears to my eyes, and I recorded it, and that was like the beginning of the end of my legal career. But yeah, so so that was like 2017 where I decided I wanted to learn music, and then by 2019 I was able to fully become a full-time composer, and thanks to my time in Berlin, I was able to make my vocation also my livelihood. So. We'll start with the premise that I'm a meditation practitioner,
Mm-hmm.
and I discovered that 2015 in Chelsea, New York, and by way of like, I think it was the seventh person that told me I should go to meditation. And I finally relented, and so it brought an immense amount of clarity and kind of just like this sense that the stars aligned,
Mm-hmm.
um, and kind of like how ripeness comes to a fruit. I don't know how it happened, but it did happen. And so this clarity and this idea of being present, particularly my practice is Zen Buddhism. And I wanted to bring that into my music practice. So I would say I have two two separate practices. One is more of a composer performer, neo-classical or avant-garde classical type music to be enjoyed for entertainment purposes. And to me, the other aspect is to be as present with music, as present with yourself as possible when listening. After someone kind of saw kind of what I was doing with the music as far as being still, and I would have these rooms in Berlin where I would invite people to come and listen, actively listen. They would find a space on the ground, most of the time lie down, and just tell them to be with the music in a way that we're not when we're listening to Spotify or on YouTube. Judging a sound, oh, is this good, is it not? Does it remind me of this time? Can I see myself driving a Ferrari and listening to this? So when I do instruct the participants to be as present with the sound and a little acknowledge whatever makes you feel, and to always kind of reintroduce yourself to the rhythm of the breath and kind of like that, it really changes their interaction with sound. And it honestly, it could be a Frank Sinatra song that you do this to, but it's really how you do it and why that really affects the people I work with in this regard. And also I use this practice myself when I'm listening to music. And so activism through this to the point of helping people be as present as they can while listening to sound, appreciating even when you're walking down the street and you pay attention to the various sounds coming, bird sounds, car tires on the streets, just being incredibly present, allowing for clarity to come and finding peace. It's really about just finding peace with yourself and with your surroundings. So yeah, so to me, this is I don't see this practice going anywhere. It's something I want to expand and invite people to do this. And also, what I love about this particular practice of kind of active listening or sound healing is that it can be done anywhere, any place, at any time, honestly, by anyone. The way that people focus on the sensations of the breath while they're meditating, to me, you can do that with sound. And it can be from music to just a sound coming from the room or outside of a space, outside of a building or something like that. I don't know how I'm helping people, but I've done these sound healing sessions or these listening sessions, and people come up to me afterwards and just tell me what an incredible experience they've had. And after the very first time I did it, and I had people come up to me, and even security guard said, "Oh yeah, I heard people saying it was life-changing." I was just completely bewildered. Yeah, because here I am. I mean, I'm going through my own process creating the music live. So I basically perform live sets of electronic music, and just that people come with this awareness. So I don't know how I help others, but I'm happy to create these sessions where people do feel that they're connecting with some type of higher power or connecting with themselves. I would say my path is it's different from the litany of composers in a sense where I am not classically trained and I haven't. I would say the honest truth is forced, but I really enjoyed it. But I was forced to watch films from my mom's childhood. So I watched a lot of films from the 30s, 40s, 50s, and 60s, and basically stopped at the 60s. And from that, I took in a lot of music. I remember the very first time I fell in love with Herman Bernard's piece, Love Scene d'Amour for Vertigo. I just remember these moments from listening to funk music, 60s music, all these music. I like, my dad and I were jazz heads. You know, we go to the jazz club and we're the ones bopping our heads. Every rhythm the drum is doing, right? With that said, I feel like I've been studying music all my life, honestly. And I take these influences, I feel, and I bring them along with me. And so I would say, like, with the Taoist perspective, it's really about being one with the creative process, being fully present when creating, and also allowing contrast to come very, very easily. When it comes to like the Taoist perspective, or kind of this meditative quality of sound, I feel like I pick up influences from Toru Takemitsu, because I first learned of him through his book, and later after that discovered his sound, which was incredible, which is incredible. Yeah, but what I love about him is he wrote about this, but he also put it into practice. His use of silence. To me, it's so profound how he does it. And I also feel like the absence of sound is, I don't know if it's something that's more used in Eastern lifestyle, but to me, it was a refreshing difference from kind of the music I grew up with, which was from classic rock to disco. But it's about sound, and it's not about allowing a rest to linger. So I would say it's just, for me, I'm not sure I'm answering your question correctly, but these people that really spoke to me, and I guess these influences are my favorite composers, particularly Harold Budd, Alice Coltrane. I remember I discovered her work rather recently. I'd never been into her jazz work. I mean, I like her jazz, but it's pretty traditional. And that period right after John Coltrane's death, when she was experimenting with harp and jazz, I think that's cool, but to me, that's not the meat and potatoes. To me, it's when we go further, where she's really doing her own thing, and you could tell that she's just so free and doesn't care about fitting into a particular group or genre. Even I was reading the album notes for one of my favorite songs called Rahid Shyam, and I saw that I think she had like seven violins, like 2 cellos, and like maybe one viola, something completely very unusual, a combination of strings, but you could also hear that. You can hear this kind of piercing, high-pitched sound. And the beautiful thing about it was that it was purposeful. And, you know, in contrast that to me learning all these theory books about, you know, the balance between the instruments and all these things that are also important, but to really see people go out and find their own way of expression, and to be unafraid of that, to me, it's very fascinating. So yeah, I don't know. I just feel like my influences, honestly, they come from everything I've picked up so far, and particularly like Handel. I love Handel the most out of composers from that era, and from him, I really love the way his intervals. He'll go up a fourth and then come down, you know, a minor or major second, and I just like that he skips like that, or he'll go up a sixth and then come down a second or a third or something like that. And it's just like these things, I don't know, you pick it up and you all, you know, eventually you have your own sound. but you know, if it's about who am I, and how am I going to really express myself in the most authentic way, you know, I feel like I'm still chiseling out the sculpture of who I am, and being inspired and emboldened by other composers, particularly I listened to a Meredith Monk thing because she inspires me, and then I started just listening to her discography on Spotify, and kind of like Rothko, I have some, like, a couple favorite pieces which I love, but for the most part, so I don't get the blue with the black colors, you know. But and I felt like for her, it's like she had some pieces that really spoke to me, and there's some pieces that were intriguing and creative, but not really of my interest. But those pieces are the ones that said, wow, Shannon, look at how Meredith found her voice by having these odd vocal ranges and sounds and tones. And what if you could do something like this in your way? So it would not be with using voice in that way, but it's the idea that she found something that was hers and something to connect it with. And that admires me so much. Absolutely. I really think so, and I say this mainly because I hear a lot of people explaining how important that is to see people who look like them in a particular space. But I will say that I go out of my way because given, you know, we look at the disparities, let's say, of Black composers or disparities of any other non-white composer in the Western hemisphere. You know, it's obviously because of the disparities in other aspects. You know, it's just not it's not yet an equal opportunity to either get the music education or the exposure or whatnot. So I think that I mean, also like support family to support community to the resources. So I feel like, you know, when I do see people of color who are composers and they're out there essentially doing or trying to do what I am doing, which is self-expression and art creation, you know, I'm going to support it regardless. To me, as long as it's authentic, yeah, I'm going to be there. And I do know how important it is for other people to see role models. I mean, whether it's, I hear women talk about how it's important for them to see women in leadership at companies and so forth, or to be people of color and a professor role. So yeah, I support it. For me, it's also inspiring. Yeah, it's inspiring. But I have to say, like, it's never been where I felt like I couldn't accomplish anything because there wasn't a Black woman. But that is to say, if there is one, even all the better.